Hi, this is Mitch Doan, and along with Jamie Richardson, we're your hosts of the Break-Thru Active podcast. We aim to deep dive into health and fitness that will help bring you a better understanding of topics that are of interest to you and can help you on your own journey. If you are enjoying the episodes, we'd love for you to leave us a rating on the platform you listen to your podcasts. Enough from me, sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome back to the Break-Thru Active podcast. I am here with my second favourite guest of all time, Steve.
Who's number one?
I can't divulge that type of information.
Right, how are you, mate?
Should be happy with number two.
Yeah, well, I've actually, funny that, number two. I've actually come second in our tipping comp.
Yeah?
How good. But big congrats.
Adam Whipper.
Adam Whipper. He was too good. He just got to the front with 6 rounds to go and just held on. I tried catching him, but I just couldn't do it.
Still got the grand final to go, but we've kind of crunched the numbers. It looks like that Steve-O is going to finish second, but we still have a race for third, which could be interesting.
A couple of people. I think there's 3 in the running, so I think it's a big round. If you want to take a risk, you can take a risk. Or if you want to play it safe, play it safe. Just I know what I'd do. I can't be like giving out advice or whatever because that's what got me to number 2. But
we might stay with sport to begin because I did want to talk a little bit about the Knights, the girls are in the final.
How good?
Yeah,
better than those blokes.
They didn't win a game last year, and they signed a few big players in the off season. Millie Boyle is probably the most well-known one. Mm-hmm. And there's another girl from Brisbane, I think, and her name just is eluding me right now. But, yeah, they've only lost 1 game, and that was to the Roosters, but the Roosters are actually eliminated now, so they play the Eels on Sunday for the Bickies.
How are you enjoying it? How are you enjoying women's sports as a whole?
That's good.
Yep.
I've watched it. I watched, like, different women's sport in the past. Like, I watched a bit of cricket and like the State of Origin a few years ago when they started televising the women's stuff. Mm-hmm. And I've always thought it's quite decent, but I think now, and I don't know if it's because there's a bit more of an emphasis on it for women, but I feel like the talent's just getting even better.
100%. I remember my first instance, like my first experience with like women's like professional sport, like in this regard, was actually the rugby league as well. And I remember back in 2016, they had the test match up here in Newcastle, Australia versus New Zealand. And before it, they had the women's game, Australia versus the Aussies versus the Kiwis. And I just remember for 60 minutes, they were absolutely going out, like bashing each other hard. And then the boys came out and it was way softer. Like, so the girls I found that night were way more entertaining. Yeah, right. And I remember that season, I remember it vividly, the Sharks won the comp in 2016. So there was women's rugby league before each game.
Yeah.
And I just remember like being so G'd to watch it because they would just throw hell for leather for 60 minutes, which is something that I think rugby league kind of gone away from a little bit. Like it's probably gone a little bit towards the safety side of things, where I think like the purists, I think the rugby league purists these days, I think they might like thoroughly enjoy the women's because they do not hold back. They're in 5th gear the whole way. So I think there's a massive future for women's rugby league for sure.
Yeah, I spoke about this on a post the other day, and I think it's really good. There's so much more opportunity for women playing sport now.
Yeah.
And I made reference to this in my post, but when I was growing up playing sport, and you probably might have an example of this too.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was a girl like in our rugby league team, but I think we got to like the under 10s or something, and then she just wasn't allowed to play anymore because quote unquote the boys would be too rough.
Yeah.
And then even playing cricket growing up, I had a girl in my team who was also in our rep team, which is a really good player, good bowler, decent batsman. And then kind of got into like our mid-teens, and then she kind of just transitioned out because she wasn't going to be able to make it as the male comp or the opens comp, but there wasn't really an avenue for her to pursue for women's.
Yeah,
I think there is one, but it's not as readily available and as easy to find as it is now for women. Like up 100%. Here, cricket up here, like there's a whole women's comp.
Yeah.
Whereas like 20 years ago when I was playing, there was just a few girls sort of scattered in amongst
the comps.
So it's definitely encouraging younger girls to play, like not just cricket, but all sports. Like if there is actually like a league for them and they're not having to just play with the boys or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it's good. More sports are doing it. It's getting televised more.
Yeah.
Which I think is a huge thing.
I remember there was, like, speaking of, like, the amount of talent that's in the like women's rugby league now, especially at this point in time, is through the roof. I remember, like, back in the day, I used to play against this girl. Her name was Bessie. She played for the Maroubra Lions.
It's a tough name.
Shout out to Bessie.
She'll be listening.
Yeah, hundo for the World's Number One podcast. But anyway, like this, like if I say the name Bessie, that should be enough. Like Bessie. Yeah. So she was this like big Islander girl. And I remember she was an absolute weapon. Like she was a forward, front rower. And I remember like my job at times was stopping her. And I had a hard time. I was a pretty decent little player. And I had a real hard time stopping her. I think in today's comp, if Bessie was in a prime, hey, Bessie could have been the Millie World.
Unstoppable.
Bessie was unstoppable. So Bessie,
just
shout out. I did stop you all those years ago, just quietly, but you did give me a tough time.
See, that's what I mean. Like it was just 10 years too early.
Yeah.
Because 15 years too early. Because I think a lot of girls would have been talented.
Yeah.
And then they just didn't really have anywhere to go with it.
Yeah.
And now, like there's AFL, there's cricket, there's rugby league, and obviously like there's still soccer and hockey and basketball and all those other things, but it's on telly now.
It's nice seeing some of the women's players getting celebrated, similar to the men. Like the one that comes into my mind is Alyssa Healy, the cricketer.
Yeah.
So I remember when she hit that second fastest one day 100 or something. I can't remember what it was. It was a little while ago, probably 6 months ago now. And then she was in a list with like Adam Gilchrist and a couple others. And, they were debating at that point in time, she'd be in that list or whatever, but it's not the point. But she was just absolutely getting celebrated, and she was like some sort of national treasure. And absolutely she should be. And women's sports should be celebrated as much as the men's.
Yeah. And I think it's trending towards, because I feel like all these girls probably have to work. Yeah. Or they have sponsorships that are like just getting them through. Because unfortunately there's not enough money in it at the moment, I think. But hopefully in time gets to the point where they can just become professional athletes like the males can be.
I think there'll come a time where that happens. I think it happens in the not too distant future. I don't think it happens. I think it happens within the next 10 years.
Yeah.
I think it's trending that way.
The individual sports like golf and tennis, there's lots of money in that for the women.
Yeah.
Tennis is equal pay. Like the prize pools are the same.
Are they really?
I'm pretty certain. Golf, they don't play the same tournament, so it's different. But like, there's still a good amount of money in it. But it's just the team sports that it's not quite there yet.
But yeah, I think I definitely do. I think we're going to get to a point where I think women's and men's sports are pretty well going to be viewed similar.
Yeah,
I think at some point in the next 10 years.
Yeah, go the Knights this week. I'll be watching.
They'll win. Yeah. Who's your tip for the grand final, mate?
Penrith.
By how much?
Plain boring. I think 12 to 18.
PS. I'm sick of hearing this. Hey guys, who's going to win? Penrith or Parramatta? I hope Parramatta. Do you know how many times I've heard them say, I hope Parramatta?
I said it today.
Meaning Penrith.
Yeah, that's literally what I said today.
It's going to be tough to beat them. They're just too good, I think. But anyway, moving right along.
So transitioning right into something a little less nice to talk about. Not really. But the documentary on Netflix, Dahmer.
Still in the rounds.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Big JD.
For those of you who maybe have not been on social media for like the last few weeks and don't know about it.
Actually,
Jeffrey Dahmer was a serial killer in the 1980s and 90s in America. And Netflix have just released a show about him, not a documentary, like it's an actual show where they've got obviously actors playing his part. And it's a 10-episode series and sort of goes through, somewhat of his life.
And the inside of why he's done what he's done and that sort of stuff. It is, and if anyone hasn't seen it, I'm only 2 episodes in, right? So I'm not, there's 10 episodes. You said you're 7, right?
Yeah, 7.
So I'm 2 episodes into it and it's already, like you can probably delve into it a little bit more, but it already is a really, really tough watch. Like it's at that, having said that, I watched 2 episodes starting at 9:30. That probably doesn't help either. Setting the mood. I think it's maybe a breakfast thing or a midday thing, just a bit lighter and the sun's beaming. But yeah, it's it's very unsettling. I think unsettling is the word.
Yeah,
it's super unsettling. I would find it really tough to find somebody out there. I think it'd be hard to find someone that says like it doesn't sort of affect them in some way.
Well, it's not like serial killers as bad as it is. Like
Yeah.
just obviously someone who's just killing people.
Mhm.
But he's like keeping their bodies in his apartment and cutting them up and eating them, drilling holes in their skulls, trying to make them into zombies.
Good bloke.
Yeah. He's luring these people back from like the club, and just seems very normal, like up until the point that door shuts.
And then it's over. Yeah, it's yeah. Again, like if you haven't seen it, I recommend maybe watching an episode and just let us know what you think, because it is, yeah, it's a tough watch, and if you can get through it, well, all the power to you.
I am enjoying it. Like it is unsettling. That's probably the perfect word. But I am enjoying it. Like the actor, what's his name? Evan.
Yeah, Evan something.
Peters.
Evan Peters.
Yeah, he plays him really, really well.
Yeah.
But the story is just frustrating, because back in the 80s and 90s, things were viewed a bit differently, because he's homosexual.
Yeah.
Viewed a bit differently with the police, and he was killing a lot of black people. And there was a lot of racism. And even back then, it was so much more normal for someone just to go missing. Yeah. They just feel like, oh, they've just skipped town, like they just left. Whereas now, like if someone goes missing for 24 hours, like it's a red flag.
Yeah.
So there's all these missing people, and the police see. I mean, I know the show would probably sensationalize it, but seemed, they were somewhat just not caring and not taking things seriously.
Yeah, and you know more than me because you've seen 5 more episodes, but there was that part at the end of episode 2, I won't spoil it or anything, where there's that phone call, and it's like it's an actual phone call. Yeah. Like, so there's actual like things that are in the show that like are not a depiction. It's like an actual like actual stuff, like actual phone calls and whatever. So you're actually hearing like the victims, like families and all that jazz. So sad. Yeah, it's super unsettling, but it led us to think like, it led me to ask you a question. Is there any, like, there has to be either a TV show or a movie or something else that you feel like what you've watched it now and you can't watch it again. It was something about it was just very unsettling for you. Yeah. And you just can't watch it again. So
the one that came to mind when you asked me this was, it's on Netflix as well, but this is a documentary, not a show.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was about little boy Gabriel Fernandez, who was like, they're in California, LA, I think. And his parents, his mum and her boyfriend, I think dad was out of the picture. It's been a while since I watched it. Killed him, like beat him to death. And then it's all uncovering how it got to that point. And he'd been like locked in the closet, and social workers had been like sent to his house, and at school he came in with like, black eyes, and, just appear as though he's been beaten up and brutalized. And he just kept slipping through the cracks to the point where, he eventually unfortunately died. But he was like 7 or something, and just like looked like such a sweet little boy. And it was heartbreaking, like, to be honest. Like, it was just super sad, because it was only recent too, like I'm within the last handful of years.
Yeah.
And in modern day society, like, you just don't really, I know what would happen. Maybe I'm a bit naive, but it was just sad to see it being documented and be able to see how easily it seemed as though it could have been avoided. So
there's no way you could watch that again?
Oh, I probably could, to be honest. Like, it didn't scar me to the point where I couldn't watch it again, but it was sad.
Yeah.
Because it was true.
Yeah.
I think that's like, and the same with the Dahmer thing, like, it's all true stuff.
Yeah.
And it just was like, just hit home, because it was all so recent, and just a little boy, and he had no say over what was happening. Like, he had no choice in the matter.
Yeah.
And I think that's always sad when like that, choice is taken out of it. And unfortunately, he didn't live to see 8 years old. Hey guys, just very quickly, if you have been enjoying our podcast and you've been watching us on YouTube, I would love for you to subscribe to our channel. If you've been listening to our podcast, give us a follow, give us a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify or wherever it is that you've been listening to us. It really helps the channel grow, and I would be extremely appreciative and grateful if you took a moment to do that for me. Okay, that's it from me. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Yeah, it's tough. That'd definitely be unsettling. Well, mine's a little different, mate.
Yeah.
Mine's a little different, which is a bit of a shocker, but it is. Now I couldn't go with an actual life event because I would go with Jamie falling off the stage at the trivia night. That was too unsettling. I wouldn't want to view that again. Just quietly, that was tough viewing. But mate, mine's Marley and Me.
Oh,
that is brutal. Let me tell you, that is. I've only seen it one time. I haven't watched it since. And the last time I watched it, I was about 21. It was the first time I watched it. I was at home. I think it was like summer night, and I had the aircon on, a couple of grapes. Come on, no problem. But yeah, I caught it. It was about 20 minutes into the movie, and I was like, oh yeah, this Marley and Me movie, that dog. And I sort of knew where it was going, but I still watched it. I was like, I just have to watch it. Mate, I was a blubbering mess at the end of it. I felt like at that point in time I was traumatized, like, because I think anytime a dog, spoiler, surely everyone knows, if a dog dies in a movie, it is hard yakka. Like it really hits you. It pulls at the heartstrings. That just broke me, that movie. I've never been able to watch it since, and I don't think I will watch it again. The only time like I would watch it up until he starts getting a bit crook, and then I'm out. That's it.
Because at the very end, he goes and like dies under a tree or something, doesn't he?
Yeah, and Owen Wilson's bawling his eyes out, and so is Jennifer Aniston. It's just rough because I think he just hits a bit close to home because like you like always like we've had pets and that sort of stuff, and you sort of think like when that time comes, like it just shows like how important pets are in people's lives, and it's just, you know, they are family at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like they're not just dogs. Like they are family members, and it's as tough as losing a human. So
you hear of like my parents are like this, but you hear other people too that when their dog does pass away, they don't want to get another one because they don't want to go through that heartache again.
Yeah.
Even though there's like 10, 12, 14 years of joy, just that end bit. But yeah, I often think with my dogs, like, they're getting on, they're not old, but like 6 and 8. So they're not spring chickens anymore.
Yeah.
And it will be sad when they finally move on. But yeah, that clenches at the heartstrings.
It's a rough movie. Do you think you should watch Marley and Me a couple of times, like in the next year, just to be okay,
build some resilience?
Yeah, just be strong. I don't think it'll build resilience, to be honest with you. It's tough.
Before we move on to the last thing, it's another super sad movie. I don't know if you've seen it. My Sister's Keeper.
Yeah, it's tough.
Oh,
that's a heart that just pulls your soul out.
Yeah, that's like
not good.
I can't. The sister's, the young girl's got cancer. I think.
Cameron Diaz.
Yeah, and then obviously My Sister's Keeper, and it just goes through that whole journey. But yeah, that's rough.
It's a tough gig. So yeah, just do yourself a favor if you don't want to. I don't recommend, as I said to you before, watch Dahmer in the morning or midday. Do yourself a favor. Don't be watching Dahmer like while you're having like your bowl of cereal or whatever, like in the morning. Just don't be doing that. Just wait for midday or like in between meals, because you know I don't think you're gonna be too hungry as you're watching it.
Yeah, don't be watching it while you're having like a big juicy steak.
Oof. Yuck. Right. Avoid the butchers at all costs. Terrible.
We're in the middle of school holidays.
Yeah.
Had a few more kids just flying around the gym, which is cool. Come in with mum or dad, obviously through the day. And have a few conversations with the parents about like, you know, what they do in school holidays and you know, how they occupy themselves. And a lot of them say they just end up spending more time playing PlayStation and Xbox and whatever. So it sort of got me thinking, compared back to when we were younger, like again, talking about, you know, 20, 25 years ago, because I had a PlayStation.
Yeah.
PlayStation 1 I was
Sony one.
But I would only play it like bits at a time. It wouldn't be something that I would sit there with a mate or by myself and play all day or all night. Yeah. Did you?
I played a bit of video games, but I did a lot outside too. Yeah. I did heaps outside. Most of my childhood, I think of me being outside more than being inside. Yeah.
I remember like a few games that we used to play with friends, like Jonah Lomu Rugby, Shane Moore Cricket.
Yeah, that stupid NRL game.
We spoke about this, ARL 95. But it was comparing it to what it seems like kids like now, where they'll like to stream and play with their friends and obviously talk with their friends or whatever, like pretty much dawn to dusk.
Well, that's pretty well, I think that's the normal form of interaction now. Like that's the way kids interact and communicate with each other, is via tablets and computers and games and stuff, in comparison to, you know, obviously we didn't have like the that level of internet and technology at that point in time, so we couldn't do that. But I saw a funny meme the other day, and it's
I was
in
about to say the
relation. Same thing with the mum pulling the.
Oh no.
No, different one. So it was like back in the day. There's a picture of your mum pulling the kid inside the house, like pulling them inside, and now this one is them pulling them outside of the house.
Yeah,
so it's such a comparison of, and it's so true because I remember being out until like stupid o'clock when I was a kid, and my mum and dad just yelling out when it was dinner time, and just jump back inside. So yeah, it's
completely changed.
Yeah,
I saw a funny one the other day. I thought this is what you were going to say, and it was like back, when kids or teenagers or whatever, before mobiles, when you'd call your friend. I don't know if you ever did this exactly. You call your friend on the home phone and say, "I'm leaving now. I'll meet you halfway." So like, if you were like, just say your mate lives 3 kilometers away, and you both leave at the same time and you meet halfway, and then go and do.
I don't remember doing that.
I remember doing that because obviously not like you don't have your phone to be like, "Oh, I'm here now." So you're leaving, like, "Hey, I'm leaving now. Like, leave now. I'll meet you halfway," and then you both just start walking. And you have like a meeting point. Whereas now it's just like, "Where are you?" Like, "I'm here," texting. But yeah, I'm glad I grew up when I did.
Me too, but I think those times are gone. I think like kids still play outside to an extent, but I think the majority of the time, I think it's just mainly become an indoor thing. I think it's just everything's just way too accessible now.
And also like, I feel like the kids would be left out and be the old ones out if they don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, like they might get ridiculed or just be out of the know if it's like, "Oh, like Jimmy doesn't have the Xbox or doesn't have this game or whatever," when everyone else does it. So it's part of like fitting in.
Yeah, like I see this as a real problem. I don't know. Like I just think, I mean, it's the norm, but like I feel like at least the behavioral issues as well. Like I feel like being in front of a computer screen, it's detrimental to your mental health. I think like you need actual human interaction. You can't be doing like just constantly just interacting with people via like a computer or whatever. Like look at lockdown, for example. Like a couple of years ago, I remember like I was locked down for like this year. Like I was locked down for 7 days. Like I was like by day 5, I was just like, I've got to get out. Like I got to get out of here. So like I think it's just important to have human interaction because we're humans after all, right?
Yeah, and also just like obviously health, and I mean, not to mention just like more activity and sun exposure and fresh air and things like that. But yeah, I think there's probably going to be a shift in just communication because so much of it is done like email, or I know kids don't email, but like text or whatever. Whereas we used to talk on the phone, or we used to meet people. So I think that whole thing's changing as well. So it will be interesting, but it just got me thinking about it after talking to some parents and obviously trying to keep kids busy in school holidays. And sometimes, they can't really, if your kids are teenagers, maybe, you can't make them do something they don't want to.
Do you think the world gets worse in this regard? Do you think it gets worse in regards to like playing inside? Like, because it's not only kids, it's adults are just as bad.
Yeah, I mean, depends how you look at it, but worse for health for sure.
100%.
I think all people who are like our age or older is probably going to like agree with us and be like, "Oh, you should be outside more and whatever." It's just a change of generation because the generation before ours probably think we weren't outside that much.
Like, "Oh, those damn video games."
Yeah,
damn Atari.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah,
Game Boy. He's on his Game Boy all the time. Like,
So we're
because even now I had Foxtel and stuff growing up. So you still have lots to watch DVDs, videos, and then like my parents didn't have any of that. They're lucky to have a TV.
So what does the next 20 years hold for the younger generations? Like, what's speed dating like? Do you reckon speed dating is pretty well like you can see the person across from you, but you can't actually communicate? You're just doing these ones like texting via like screen to screen or something. There'd be something like that.
You probably like you walk past them and like their social media handles like are above them, so then you can like follow them. And then
speaking of, this is a bit off topic, but have you seen this show called Black Mirror? Oh, it's on Netflix, right? It's a look into the future, right? Like it's like the most hectic version of the future there is, and there's an episode on it where it's very similar, just like that. So the interaction that you have with a particular person, you then go and you rate them, for example. So when it comes down to home loans and like getting ahead in life, it's all based on this rating system. So like if I had a crap interaction with you, I said, Mitch was very standoffish and blah, 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 blah. I just go, okay,
1 out of 5.
I'll give him a 2 out of 5. And then your 4.2 goes down to 4. And then
Like
people are just stressing out because their ratings are going down and up. Similar to what's going on now with like Instagram and Facebook with social media and likes and all that jazz. But yeah, it's just a funny look in the future. I could actually see it happening too, where you dating, like you were on that dating scene. There's like dating places where it just hovers over them and you're just like, oh yeah.
I think so many more people meet online now.
I think it's just the normal.
Like it used to be weird. I remember when I was just turned 18 and there was a guy at my work who'd met his partner online and me and the other boys used to laugh at him.
Yeah.
We'd be like, what a loser. Had to meet this chick online.
Yeah.
And now like,
it's just like, who cares?
Yeah. And it's been like that for ages. That was probably like, 2008 or something. And then like I had Tinder and stuff in like 2013.
Yeah.
So it was only 5 years. But yeah, now it's very normal, like for people to have met online and get married. Like the most common, I think.
Yeah. It's not embarrassing anymore.
Not at all.
Like, because I think more and more people are going to say, oh, hey, I met on like Bumble or I met on on Tinder, even Facebook.
Definitely good for older people if they've had like a breakup or something.
Yeah.
Because I think if you're in like your 40s or 50s, it can be hard to meet people. I mean, I think it can be hard to meet people regardless of your age, but obviously as you get a bit older, it becomes a bit more challenging.
So maybe technology in that sense is a positive.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's good for technology is great for lots of things. It's just one of the downsides is it makes people a bit more lazy.
But at the end of the day, I think kids need to get outside.
Yeah.
I do. I think they need to get outside a little bit more because otherwise they're just getting cooped up and parents' heads are getting like done in, hairs are getting pulled out. They're just human. So I think it's good to just get outside and whenever they can.
Last thing I remember seeing a meme a little while ago, and I was talking about it was when Australia were playing really poorly in the cricket, and they said, "Oh, no wonder like Australia is no good anymore. Look at the size of our backyards." It was like all the blocks are getting so much smaller. Whereas years gone by, everyone used to have like quarter-acre blocks. So have like cricket pitch and whatever. And now it's like
because kids be playing in the street and stuff. Yeah, playing cricket now. There's nothing.
Streets are too busy. Yards are too small.
I wonder why we're like, what are we in world now?
We're all right now. There was a while there we weren't doing too good.
That's why India's so good. Just like open and that's right. Just playing cricket all day. And
exactly right. That's the only reason.
Those were the days, mate. I used to play cricket all the time in my street. Yeah, it was the best.
I loved a bit of backyard cricket. Still play at Christmas time when I go to Kate's family's place. It's good fun.
Dominate out there.
Yeah, not bad.
Dominate Gilgandra.
Yeah, I like to take my time working in my innings.
The Gilgandra Cup.
Yeah,
every Christmas time.
Boxing Day test at Gilgandra. Okay, that'll do us.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks for coming on, mate.
No
Thanks for listening, guys. Talk to you in the next one.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If there is a topic you'd like us to discuss that we haven't already, please make sure you reach out in Facebook Messenger and we'll do our best to cover it in the upcoming episodes. For those of you enjoying the podcast, we'd love for you to like, subscribe and leave us a rating. It really helps us grow and spread the good word. Hoping you're all having a great day and we'll be sure to see you on the next one.